Hello my friends. So this is going to be week 2 of beginner series. So in week 1 we went over Salutation A, just learning a couple of different poses. I believe we learned triangle, warrior 2, how to breathe. In today's video we're going to learn about Salutation B, which many of the poses we've already learned in week 1, but now we're just going to link them together. And we're going to do a couple of sort of beginner's back bends. Alright, we're going to start like we did last week, and that is just by finding an easy seated position and coming into our breath. So remember, an easy seated position is exactly that, however you can sit comfortably and easily. For some people that's going to be sitting maybe on a pillow, a bolster, whatever you have handy. For some people that's going to mean maybe sticking blocks under your knees if you have them at home. If you don't have blocks, pillows work too. You can roll up towels or blankets. For some people that's sitting with legs out long. Again, that's actually not comfortable, honeys. Whatever's comfortable for you, find that seat. I want you to sit with a long, tall spine. Nothing is comfortable on my knees today. Let's go back here, see if I can make it work. Sit with a long, tall spine, so you're going to squeeze your belly in, but you're going to keep your shoulders down. Place your hands wherever it's comfortable. Close your eyes. And just start to notice your breath, the quality of your breath. If breathing is easy or if it's labored. Last week we talked about Ujjayi and Samavriti, our equal breath and our powerful, victorious breath. But right now I'm just simply going to ask you to find some evenness in your breath to make your inhales and your exhales match. To calm the breath. To maybe get out of taking superficial breaths. And what that means is breathing into the belly. When you exhale, emptying the belly, let the breath come up, all the way up. When you inhale, the breath goes all the way down to the belly. Up and down, full and empty. One more breath together, big inhale. Exhale. I want you to come into a tabletop position. Let's warm our spine up just a little bit before we get started. Wrists right under the shoulders, knees under the hips. Spread your fingers really wide. So find that long spine, a long line of energy from your root to your crown. Take an inhale. On your exhale, drop your belly, tail goes up, gaze go to where the ceiling and the wall meets. Now when you do this, don't collapse into your shoulders, really press the mat away. On your inhale, round your back, tuck your tail, send your chin to your chest, still press the mat away. We never want to collapse into our shoulders. This is cat pose. Drop back into your cow, tail up, gaze up, and cat. Let's do one more of each. Cow and cat. Come back to a long spine and press back into a child's pose. In our child's pose, your knees can be close or farther apart. Toes come to touch. Relax down into your child's pose. Let the hips settle, let the shoulders settle. If your head doesn't quite reach the mat, you can grab a pillow, a rolled up blanket, a block, anything you have handy, and put it under your forehead because you want to relax here. Come back to your tabletop position, wrists under shoulders, knees under hips. Walk your hands one handprint up, fingers are wide. Curl your toes under, lift your hips, downward facing dog. Now remember from the last video, in your down dog, Your heels do not have to be here. Your legs do not have to be straight. Your heels can be up, your knees can be bent. What I'm looking for is belly coming close to thighs, so we keep this long spine. Take a breath. Take as many steps as you need to make it to the top of your mat. When you get to the top of your mat, find your long spine halfway lift. Remember, hands on the shins, the thighs, even on the hips. Bend the knees a lot, forward fold. Let the head hang heavy, relax here again. Bend the knees as much as you need to. We're going to root through our feet, rise up into our mountain pose. We learned this last week. So in our mountain, feet are hip width distance apart. Second toe pointing straight ahead. Tuck your tail. Soft shoulders. Reach through your fingertips. Strong here. Let's start a sun salutation B. From our mountain pose, we are going to sink into a chair pose. So again, you can leave your feet apart, or you can bring your big toes to touch. I'm going to leave my feet apart. Bend your knees, sink your hips, chair pose. Now I'm going to turn back to the side so you can see what not to do here. In our chair pose, we want a little tuck of the tail, heart forward, belly back. We do not want to do this. We don't want to over tuck and do this. So just a slight tuck of the tail so you can feel your core working. Forward fold. Halfway lift. Step back to your plank. We're going to take that modified vinyasa from last week. Drop to your knees. Come back to your child's pose, little child's pose. Roll forward into a cobra pose. Hardcore. Downward facing dog. So to get through a downward facing dog, we want to lift from the belly. You're going to come back to that tabletop position for just a second, that wide tabletop. Curl the toes under, downward facing dog. Let's move on to a warrior one. I want you to lift your right leg up. Soften that left knee. Let's keep our hips in line. You're going to bring that right foot through. For some of you, your right foot's going to stop right here. We're going to pick it up and help that baby in between the hands. Now, if you're in the middle of the clock, your right foot's pointing at 12. Your left is going to plant and point at 10 o'clock. Whole foot on the mat. Rise up. We're going to bring our hands to our heart. Now, when you get here, this left hip may be open a little bit. I want you to bring it face the top of the mat. Really root through your feet. Squeeze your belly in. Hands at the heart. We want to make sure this right knee is not going forward too far, not past the ankle. We're going to bring it back and stack on top. You can even have this really tiny bend. That works too. From your warrior one, I want you to plant your hands. Step back to a plank. And we're going to take that modified vinyasa. Drop to your knees. Hips to heels. Child's pose for just a second. Roll through into a cobra. Heart comes forward. Shoulders are away from the ears. Downward facing dog. Let's do it on the left side. Left leg is going to lift to the sky. Bring the left foot in between the hands. Remember, if it stops here, grab it, take it on up there. This time, left foot's pointing at 12. Right is going to point at 2. That whole right foot's on the mat. Rise up strong. Really press into those feet. Again, when you get here, bring the hips to face the top of the mat. Doesn't matter how deep the bend is in that left knee. Hold it here. Bring the hands back down. Let's take our vinyasa plank. Drop to the knees, modified plank. Child's pose, quick little child's pose. Cobra, roll forward, open your heart. Downward facing dog. Make your way back to the top of your mat. Take as many steps as you need to. Long spine, flat back. Bend your knees a lot, forward fold. We're going back into our chair pose. Bend your knees, sink your hips. Bring the arms up, hands to heart center or overhead. Now, remember, little tuck of the tail, little lift of the heart. Come into your mountain pose. So that is a sun salutation B. Chair pose, warrior one, Vinyasa. Warrior one. Vinyasa. Chair pose. All right. I'm going to do it for you one more time. And then we're going to move on to learning a little bit about back strength, back bending, a little core strength. All right, so let's start at the top of our mat in mountain pose. Inhale the arms up, soften those shoulders. Sink into a chair, bend the knees, sink the hips, little tuck of the tail. Forward fold, take it down, relax. Halfway lift, long spine. Plant your hands, step back to your plank. Drop to your knees, press back to a child's pose. Cobra pose, roll forward, heart forward, the hips come down. Downward facing dog. Warrior one on the right side, lift your right leg. Bring the right foot through. Remember, if it stops, pick it up, take it. Left foot plants at 2 o'clock. Both feet are planted on the ground. Rise up. Hands can come up or to heart center. Let's take a vinyasa. Hands come down. Right foot meets left. Plank pose. Drop to your knees. Child's pose. Roll into your cobra pose. Hips down, heart up. Downward facing dog. Warrior one on the left. Left leg lifts. Bring the left foot in between the hands. Help it there if you need to. Right foot plants flat at 2 o'clock. Rise up strong. Press into those feet. You got this. Hands down. Come to your plank. Drop to your knees, child's pose. Roll forward, cobra pose. Downward facing dog. Step to the top of your mat. Find that flat back, halfway lift. Forward fold. Chair pose, bend your knees, sink your hips. Use the strength of your core to rise up. One thing I forgot to mention in chair pose, we don't want to put all the weight on our toes. More weight in the heels. Even lift your toes up a little bit. Make sure all the weight's in your heels. Mountain pose. Very nice job, y'all. In the next video, we're going to link together Warrior 1, not Warrior 1, Sun Salutation A, Sun Salutation B, and then do maybe a little flow. Or maybe that'll be in another video. All right, so what else are we going to learn today? We are going to learn a couple of different back strength and spine flexibility poses that you will find in your typical yoga class. So we're going to start with Cobra Pose. We've been doing it this whole time. In Cobra Pose, we're going to go ahead and come to our bellies. There's actually 2 different Cobra poses I'm going to teach you today. There is Baby Cobra and then Cobra that we've been doing. If you do Baby Cobra, either one, your hands are going to go right here under the shoulders. Spread the fingers wide. In Baby Cobra, feet are flat on the floor. I want you to lift the chest, roll the shoulders down the back, keep lifting. We're not pressing into our hands, we're lifting from our back. You can even lift the hands off the mat to make sure you're not using them. This is Baby Cobra Pose. Hold it for one more breath and release it. Come out of it. You can bring your head to the mat. I'm just going to sit here for a minute like this. Now, for Cobra, not Baby Cobra, but Cobra. We've been doing it the whole time. We're going to lift up a little higher. So still bring your hands right under your shoulders. Spread your fingers wide. We're going to squeeze our elbows in towards our ribs. Start to press into the hands. Lift up. Keep lifting up. Roll the shoulders down the back. Bring the heart up. Press into the tops of the feet. This is Cobra. Hold it for a breath. Inhale. Exhale. Take it down. The next one I'm going to teach you is a little more advanced, but you may want to try it. You know, I teach things sometimes that maybe aren't for everybody, but there's somebody out there that's going to want to try the move. So the next one is called upward facing dog. You're going to find that in a more powerful vinyasa flow. If you come to class, you will see people doing upward facing dog. That doesn't mean you have to do it. I tell this to students all the time. Don't worry about what your neighbor's doing. You focus on your practice. Celebrate your body's abilities. Celebrate your body's strengths. Do not worry about the limitations, okay? All right, so for upward facing dog, we're going to roll through baby cobra, cobra to get to upward facing dog. So here we are in baby cobra. Keep lifting up. Cobra. For upward facing dog, you're going to press into those feet and lift the hips off the mat. The arms are going to straighten. Now keep the heart forward and up. This is upward facing dog. Everything is lifted off the mat except my hands and the tops of my feet. Release. Upward facing dog requires a little more upper body strength than cobra and baby cobra. We're not really using the upper body in cobra and baby cobra. Just the back. Upward facing dog, you start to use other things, your quad muscles, upper arms, shoulders, back. The next one, locust pose. There's a couple different ways to do locust. I'm going to show you half locust on top and bottom, and then full locust. Now, there's a couple different places to put your arms in locust pose. I'm strictly going to keep the arms down by my side. You're welcome to try it other ways if you know other ways. Locust pose. So I want you to take your arms down by your side. Your chin's going to face the mat. We're going to start with the upper half. I want you to lift your chest, your ribs, your arms off the mat. Squeeze your shoulder blades together. Press your fingers towards the back of the mat. Bottom stays on the mat. Feet stay on the mat. 3, 2, 1. Release. Back bends are a little bit hard, y'all. All right, locust on the bottom half. So for the bottom half, the chin is going to face the floor. You can even put the chin on the floor if you want to. I kind of lift mine up a little bit just because it's more comfortable for me. Arms are going to stay down. For the bottom half, we're just going to lift the legs up. Lift the legs up. Now, don't press your hands into the mat to lift up. I want your upper body to be relaxed. Hold it for 3, 2, 1. Take it down. Now your shoulders will stiffen up just a little bit in locust on the bottom half. That's okay. I don't want you to press the top half of your body down to lift the bottom half. I want it to strictly come from your back. Full locust. All right. You guessed it, we're lifting top and bottom at the same time, which actually I think is a little bit easier. All right, we're going to start by lifting the chest a little bit, squeezing the shoulder blades together, pressing the fingertips back. Lift the legs. Go ahead and lift the tops of the ribs, maybe all of your ribs off the mat. Press the fingertips back, lift, hold it for 3, 2, 1. Release. Very nice, y'all. After back bends, we always want to neutralize the spine, so I want you to come into a tabletop position slowly, carefully. Find the long spine. And very gently sink back into a child's pose. And let's come to a seat. Now, if you make your way into a Vinyasa flow yoga class, you are going to hear other back bends being called. You're going to hear bow pose, you're going to hear wheel pose, you're going to hear bridge pose, which I will teach you in coming up videos. You don't have to do any of those. Most teachers will give you options. They'll say they'll say if bow pose is not your practice, take a locust, take a cobra pose. if they call will pose, they'll say if will is not in your practice, take a bridge pose. If you find yourself in a yoga class where teachers are not giving you these options, they are not teaching to maybe the beginner in the class, you probably need to find a different yoga class. Because I always remind my students they have options. I always remind my students there are modifications to take. Just because you're an experienced yogi doesn't mean that you don't need that reminder that it's okay to back off sometimes. I back off in my personal practice all the time. So you take what you need, right? Yoga practice is about empowering, is about making you feel strong, not about making you feel defeated, not about making you feel less than. All right, I'm gonna get off my soapbox now and teach you boat pose, a core strengthener. Core strength is very important for back strength, okay? Most people who have back issues, it's not solely that they have bad backs. It's also probably that you have a weak core and we want to strengthen that core. It's gonna fix so many problems. Plank pose, modified plank, amazing to strengthen the core. Another good core strengthener is boat pose. If you never do any other pose that you've learned in these videos, plank and boat every day will make you stronger, will make you feel stronger, it will strengthen your core, it will strengthen your back. Boat pose. So if you've ever on social media or in a magazine seen someone doing this or this, they're doing boat pose. You will never, ever, ever see me do a boat pose that way. I think boat pose should strictly be about strengthening the core, not about my legs. When you start lifting things, we stop the focus on where I personally want to teach you to have the focus. So we're not going to do boat pose that way. We're going to do a very simple yet super effective boat pose. So I want you to find your sit bones. I want you to plant your feet on the mat. My legs are in this A position. I want you to very lightly bring the fingers behind the legs. We're not holding on for dear life, light fingertips. I want you to roll your shoulders up, send them down your back, and start to lean back. Squeeze the belly in. I want you to lean back until you feel your core start to burn, and then stop. Now I want you to send your heart forward. And I want you to stay just like this for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Come up. If you did not feel that in your belly, adjust a little bit. Maybe you need to come up a little bit. Maybe you need to take your feet out a little bit. Maybe you need to lean back a little bit more, as long as you keep your heart forward and your spine long. You play with it, okay? But we don't have to lift anything. We don't have to do any grand gesture in boat pose to make it effective. I'm going to show you 2 more things that you can do in boat pose to kind of ramp it up a little bit if you want to. Feet on the ground. If you want to, I guess 3 things. You can come to your tippy toes. I usually leave feet on the ground. Light fingertips, lean back until you feel your core start to work. There it goes for me, heart forward. You can take your arms by your side. If you do that, make sure you don't round the back. We're going to keep the spine long, heart forward. You can also bring your hands to your heart, which makes it a lot harder. Hold it for 3, 2, 1. Release. Awesome. So friends, that's what we learned today. Our sun salutation B. Again, that is mountain pose, chair pose, Vinyasa. Warrior 1, Vinyasa. Warrior 1, Vinyasa, chair pose, mountain pose. In the next video, I'm going to teach you some twisting moves and maybe link together sun salutation A and sun salutation B. So stay tuned, see what's next. You guys keep going, okay? You can keep practicing with me in these videos as long as you need to feel comfortable to get into a class, okay? If you have any questions, comments, comment below. I will link our email address below this. Also, email if you need anything. Thanks, guys. Have a good day.